So recruiting news for Pitt this week. Good news late in the week with the commitment, but not so good news earlier in the week with a decommitment. Extree Lowe, defensive back recruit out of Johnstown. He was the first commitment in the class for Pat Narduzzi in the 2017 class, committed way back last August or something like that. And he decided to reopen his commitment. Posted a nice message on Twitter saying that he had to relook at it, reevaluate his options, and maybe he committed too soon, et cetera, et cetera. And I was kind of impressed. The first thing, Pitt fans were pretty respectful. I was just today, that was on Monday, and just today I was sort of reading through some of the replies on Twitter, and it was all really respectful stuff. You don't always see that. A lot of times there's, don't let the door hit you on your way out, or even worse things than that. You've seen pretty negative, unpleasant comments from fans to recruits who don't pick their school, and Pitt fans were pretty respectful. Good luck. Unfortunately, I had to go this way. Best of luck in your travels, et cetera, et cetera. The number one rule is you don't tweet at recruits. We always say that. There's a nice flow chart online you can find that it says, should I tweet at a recruit? And goes through a variety of questions. And the answer inevitably is always no. But if you are going to do it, if you feel like you have to, at least be polite and respectful. But the second thing that came out of this, or the second thing I noticed, or second thing this decommitment got me thinking about, is that it's just another reminder that all this stuff we do with covering recruiting, everything that goes on in the world of recruiting, at least on the public side, on the coverage side, it's all one-sided. A kid decommits from a school, and he frames the narrative on why he made that decision and that he made that decision. And you know what? It's not always the case that he makes that decision. And I'm not just speaking specifically about Extree Lowe here. I'm talking about recruits in general when they decommit. Pat Narduzzi can't go out and use the Notes app on his iPhone and say, we dropped this kid. And it would have to be the Notes app, right? Because that's how you announce things these days. You use the Notes app. Jim Harbaugh can't use the Notes app and say, this kid is out of our class because we need the space for a player we like better. You can't do that. The kid can say that. The kid can put it out there and say, this school dropped me, or they needed more space, or whatever it is. Rashad Weaver, who signed with Pitt in this last year's class, said that about Michigan. In January, after he had to start his recruiting process over because Michigan dropped him, he said it basically the way that happened, that Michigan told him they needed his spot for someone else in the class, so he had to look for a new home. But mostly, that was a case where you got the full story, but mostly you just hear from a recruit that he needed to look at his options, or he decided too soon, or he just wanted to look around, or find a new, that he didn't feel comfortable with that school anymore. And sometimes that's true. Sometimes that is how it goes down. A lot of times, probably a majority of the time, it's more of a mutual decision. But when you only hear half the story, you never really know. So keep that in mind when you see these things. When you see these decommitments and you see recruits reopening their recruitment, there's a whole other side of the story that's not really getting told.